to say, so for the first time in like forever and 3.5 halves, I think I'll do a layout update video. Boom, boom, boom. Now, so here's what's going on. As some of you know, I built a big HO scale layout, then I kind of tore it down because I was moving and stuff, and then I started to build an N scale layout because I really didn't have room. And then you may notice that I did one last video of the N scale layout kind of in its last incarnation back in my old house because I moved back into this place. Just because things weren't working out in that crappy ass apartment. Whatever. You're probably wondering, well, wait a minute. This doesn't look like your layout. Well, that's because it's not. That old N scale layout that I was building, which old was new, has been scrapped. The lumber is going to be refurbished into either bench work to add to this or other projects. And the reason being is last week, well, about a week ago from when this video was made, a gentleman came into Chi-Town Union Station over in Union Lake. More videos will be coming from that soon. He came in and he said, well, I got a big old N-scale layout that I'm looking to get rid of because my dad was building it. He's got Alzheimer's. He can't keep building it no more. I was like, well, I'll come take a look. And I first thought, well, it's mostly just going to be wood and some track and maybe some wire, and I can use the wire and stuff. Well, when I got there, this is what was there. It was mostly everything you see here, with the exception of right along here. Oh, look at my hand. There was another extension that came out. There wasn't anything on it. It was just a blank board. I'm not going to be putting that back on because there just isn't room. I might be putting a small one in there, but there really wasn't room for it. So I said, well, I'll just take this one, and I looked at it, and I really liked the track plan. I noticed a lot of things I want to change on it, and a lot of things that needed some work. But I said, well, I'll just get rid of the one I have, since really all I had was one passing siding and one corner put in. And I said, well, I'll just take this and go from here. And there are a lot of things I'm going to change. First thing I've done in the past 2 nights of having this thing actually up, I had it for one night in the garage or in the shed after I got it home. But then I just brought it in one morning and threw it together, and that night, and last night, was working on wiring it. And tonight it's 90% wired and running semi-flawlessly. And I say 90% wired because you will notice these 2 big yellow jumpers coming from this siding here, going to this part of the main line here. As you can see, it is a part of a return loop. If we zoom out far enough, you can see that it is in fact 2 return loops, kind of twisted together like that. I really like that as an operating potential, or operating purposes, because all your switches are facing point when you come out of the yard. The yard is here, and you can go around the back and come out. Your first industry is facing point. So for operation, you would have to either come around, and you see there's a passing siding here, I'll get into that in a moment, run around your train, go and work the industries, or just go around and take the loop and come back in. Problem is, I don't know where my old auto reverser went, and I know my old auto reverser was a little hairy, so I've ordered a new one and I'm just waiting for that one to come in. This is just a temporary junction because the block for the auto reverser starts here and goes all the way to here. Without the auto reverser, this whole stretch of track from here to here is dead. With those jumper wires, I now have that in there. Now, the old layout was built for DC operation, so it already had all the blocks set up. All I did is I marked them off, rewired the whole thing for block or for DCC just by connecting all the blocks to one set of feeder wires, and now I have my power cab running the layout. Now, to get to what I said earlier about this passing siding over here, I'm going to be getting rid of this passing siding here. But it's not going to be gone, I'm just getting rid of that one. What I'm going to do is, you can see I already have the one switched here. I'm kind of mapping it out. That switch is going to go right here. Keep looking where I'm pointing it at my screen. That switch is going to go here. I'm going to have the passing siding along here. And the other switch is going to be this curve switch over here. I'm debating putting another switch in industry somewhere along this siding here, but that will allow you to do a runaround move and get into this industry here. And I'm going to add at least one more switch here to have two separate industries. That building is just there for display. The fate of this one is undecided yet. I might just get rid of this one, or I might replace the switch and move it back further and have the siding come along this way more, and be more over here, because my plan is, after I get rid of this passing siding, I'm going to hide all this track work from about here to at least here in a tunnel, just as a scenic block. The other thing I want to do, and I haven't decided where I'm going to do it, is somewhere along here, either here or part of the switch lead, possibly part of the switch lead, just because I think it would fit and to make operating a little more interesting. I'm going to be adding another line. It's going to be a branch line, which is going to come off of there. There'll be maybe some industry over here that they'll serve, and it'll come around and maybe have an industry on top of the hill which covers this. So there will be a slight grade coming up. This laptop was here for a run 8 session. Probably a small industry on top of a hill along where the glue gun and the soldering iron are right there. The other thing I'm going to do is, as you notice, it is at code 55. I want to replace it with code 55, but code 55 is expensive. So my plan is keep it at code 100, or not 100, 80, whatever it is. But any new track that I put in, like the passing siding, the branch line, do is code 100. So when I put this siding in, I will put, or code 55, what am I talking about? Code 55 for the new trackage. So this will be code 55, switch here will be going in. I'll have to do transition rail, which is just a kind of kinked rail joiner to lift up the rail temporarily. I've done them before, they work. And then just slowly replace all the, or collect enough track to replace all of the track with code 55. But basically all the main line I would just get enough track to knock it out in a day or two. So the branch line will be 55, the siding will be 55, and the new industries will be code 55. But all the old track will stay code 80, I think it's 80. Will stay code 80 up until I have enough to replace it all. That means I won't be doing any real ballasting or scenery until all the track is replaced. But already, right now, that is functioning on the railroad, and is probably going to be permanent. There's that little signal right there. You've seen in probably a couple other video clips. That signal is functioning. That is one of the Atlas signal systems. They're like 20 bucks. They're good signals. Right now, it's in standalone mode, so after the train clears the block, it stays at yellow for about 15 seconds. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Fred or resistor wheel set, so as soon as the locomotive is clear of the block, it thinks the block is clear. So now it's at its yellow aspect. And at this pace that the train is going right now, the last car is clear that block, which goes all the way from the start of the passing siding, that switch there, to the other end of the passing siding. The rear of the train is clear that block with this train going that fast, but I'm running it at about 40. The layout is going to be themed around Central Michigan, not Central Michigan Railroad, just Central Michigan in general. So, even though I'm going to have a tunnel, there aren't really any tunnels in any part of Michigan. I might hide it behind some scenery or something. I might move the entrance to this tunnel further back and have some trees or something. Maybe it's the connection to Canada, maybe it's hidden under a bridge, maybe I'll do a highway bridge over it to hide the fact that it's going into a tunnel. And the back one will be hidden behind trees. One thing that I've been kicking around, and I thought about this 5 minutes before leaving for work this morning, was actually taking this switch here and flipping it around. Uh-oh, just had a derailment. That's another thing about this railroad. It'll run all day and have no problems with any, like, think wrong and it derails. But, anyways, I want to flip that switch where that center beam is at. And then off of the branch line have another switch. And I'm thinking of maybe doing empties in, loads out. Just an empties in, loads out, maybe sawmill, or not sawmill, lumber mill right in there. So loaded wood chip cars go in one side, empty wood chip cars come out the other side, you know, vice versa, and empties, you know, loaded wood chips on this side off of the main line, and loaded wood chips off the branch line. I keep tossing the camera side. That's kind of one thing that I've been kicking around. Another thing, the branch line might even have another siding that comes along that back wall, and I might either have a little town right there, maybe a branch line industry. I might just put town in nothing and just kind of have it as a little general hillside, or maybe some buildings or houses over there. What else? Not much. Not much else. Yeah, there's some clutter around. I'm trying to clean some stuff up. A lot of cars do need to have their couplers changed over to KDs. Guy had some good stuff, but a lot of it is in need of love and attention. So is this railroad. A lot of the track, if you look, is just held down by basically globs of tacky glue, which is what I would have done putting it down, but I normally spread my tacky glue out real thin so it gets all of the rail and it's really secure. But I've noticed a lot of places, like, I'm not here, but there's some places, if I can find one again. Oh, it was this corner. Over here, the glue has come loose and the track is popped up. Just a lot of little things that I gotta work on. Other than that, the track work is in relatively good shape. The only other problem I've had, I mean, I put the layout in, I fixed the wires, I cleaned the track, I ran a train. I didn't have to really do any major repair work on the track. There was one connector here, or a rail joiner here I had to fix. These switch machines are a pain in the butt because my DTNI GP35 or 38 likes to have its fuel tanks hit those, and it's just enough that it rocks the locomotive up and it loses contact. It's the only problem I've had. I am going to be replacing those with Code 55s. As for switch machine control, all yards going to be hand throw. Mainline, I might just leave hand throw as well. I might, for the crossover ones, actually throw in some switch machines, and maybe the yard lead a switch machine, just because it is a pain in the butt to reach across over there. But other than that, I mean, the guy did pretty good. I'm really grateful for, you know, being able to get it. I mean, he was going to sell it, but his mom wanted to sell it, but he said, he said, well, just the fact that you have to come and get it out, you know, that's work. If you just get it out, we won't have to, you know, we'll just give it to you. So, I mean, got a good layout. I mean, only a couple cars were any real good, like this Burlington boxcar. Got a bunch of buildings and stuff. A lot of stuff to just get really started on this. I mean, I had scenery stuff for my HO scale out, like the grass and stuff I could use. But I didn't really have any buildings for the end scale. I didn't have any ballast for it. There's still no ballast, but I'm not worried about that right now. Yep, that signal still shows red. I love DCC. Oh, that's one thing I'm going to have to explain to you guys right now. If you go out and you buy one of these little Atlas signals, they're wonderful. I encourage you guys to get them. If you're looking for a cheap and easy signal system, because, well, they're cheap and easy. And they can be integrated to work with multiple signals and actually function in a proper manner where once you hit one, they follow, but when you only have one, it runs in standalone mode. The problem with the Atlas signals I have is this. This is the Atlas signal block detector. Now, what do I have the problem with? Well, if you look, there's those two screws there and there. Track line, power line comes in here and connects to here and goes out. So basically, if this is your feeder wire coming in from your track, you have to cut it and connect it. Not a big deal. The problem is there is about a 0.5 voltage drop. It's very slight through that. If you're running DC and you run a train into the block, you will notice it drops its speed very significantly. If you're running DCC and you run into that block, it will work in DCC, but if you run into that block, your train drops its speed significantly. If we come under, it's still a bit of a mess and there's not a lot of light. Let me find the switch to get that light on. What I did, and you can do this, if you email Atlas, they'll kind of go, oh, we don't know if it works or not. It works. Right here is one of NCE's block detectors. You can see it's got a red light on indicating that it actually has a train going through it. Right there, just kind of sitting, waiting to be mounted, is that right there, is the signal control board for the signal. You'll need 3 wires. I used a red, a black, and a green to actually go to this. You'll need an independent power supply, an independent DC power supply. The accessory port off of a throttle might be a good one. I used a 6-volt auxiliary power supply, or 9-volt. I've got it set at 6 volts. 6 volts results in a dimmer light on the signal. 9 volts would be a little bit brighter, but that's what I use to actually power it. So I can shut the layout off and the signal will stay on. I can shut the signal off and the layout will stay on. But as you can see, here's the feeder wires going up to the blocks for the passing siding up there. It's kind of ugly, I know, but it's my quick and dirty wire work. Oh, and that didn't solder too well. It's a temporary thing. I wanted to get it running, and then as I replace the track work, I'm going to replace the wiring as well. I already had to replace it once, but I want to do it better than what I have now. I just want to get it in and quick and make sure everything was going to run right. So, but yeah, the Atlas signals are good. I mean, I paid about what, $60. At 63 at Mary 7's hobby shop, which is actually gone now because they're now some other hobby shop over in somewhere else. But yeah. Ooh, 17-minute video. Ooh, if you're still here watching it, way to go, you. Turn that light off because there's plastic on it. It's gonna melt. Yeah, that's it for now. I'm gonna try and do regular layout update videos as I work on it. Although I work almost every single day, so. Really, I only ever get to work for about an hour on it at night and a couple hours in the morning. Another thing I'm going to start doing, you guys, if you're still watching, kind of sneak peek at this, is I'm going to start doing This Week at Chi-Town. Now, if you guys have watched some of my 2LO scale videos, you'll know that I work at Chi-Town Union Station. Woohoo! If you've been there, way to go. If you're not, and if you haven't been there, go there. If you can't get there, find a way to get there. Basically, I'm going to find a part of Chi-Town once a week and spend maybe 10-15 minutes explaining it. It might be the computer upstairs. It might be the power control down in the basement. Not basement, in the power rooms. It might be one of the towns. It might be the rotary dumper. It might be an industrial area. It might be a particular train. I'm just going to pick something and spew information out and kind of highlight that something. I thought about doing that Friday, November 2nd when we first opened, which we are open until April, I believe. I'll get back to you in another video on that one. But, yeah, I thought about it, and I've been putting a little bit of more thought into it, and every time I go there, it's like, well, what would I highlight? How would I do it? And what, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it just occurred to me, what do I normally explain to guests? I'll explain in video. So when a guest comes in, they can say, oh, I saw the video on that. Yes, that's my impersonation of guests. I've begun working in customer service, and I hate people. Other than that, toodaloos.